Hey guys, welcome to 3:15 The Witching Hour here on Rotting Flesh Movie Reviews. I'm gonna have to let you guys know I have a bit of a cold, so I'm sorry about that. The first time we covered Suspiria, and of course this time we're gonna move right on to the sequel. Dario Argento's 1980 production, Inferno. Suspiria was pretty good, and last time I reviewed Inferno, it was on Strictly Sick Movie Reviews. Honestly, I've been told I didn't give the movie a fair rap. So let's see if it's a bit better the second time around. As the film opens, a woman named Rose Elliott finds a book entitled The Three Mothers. The author of the book, an architect named Varelli, explains that the three mothers live in three separate homes. One in Rome, one in Freiburg, which is where Suspiria took place, and one in New York, where Inferno takes place. Rose believes that she is living in one of the buildings and uses the book to find some clues. She explores the building and finds a hole in the floor which leads to a ballroom completely filled with water. Rose drops her keys in the hole in the floor. Foolishly, in my opinion, goes in to retrieve them. And baby, she looks hot! And then, as Rose leaves the cellar, we see a gloved hand pick up a lipstick that she had dropped on the ground. Rose sent her brother Mark in Rome a letter explaining her fears that she might be living in the house of a witch. Mark receives said letter and then gets distracted by a hot chick. Of course, right? I can only assume that the hot chick is supposed to be the third mother because he's in Rome and she's supposed to be the most beautiful. Mark follows the hot chick out of the building and leaves the letter his sister wrote him behind. I find this kind of unbelievable, but I guess she probably put like some bad mojo on him or something. Mark's friend Sarah, who was sitting beside him at the time, finds the letter and does not like the contents. Just reading the guy's fucking mail, like... So she jams to some Binky Boink music that I honestly just can't fucking stand. I don't know, guys. To me, that music really didn't suit the scene at all. I mean, it seems really, really out of place. I think they might have been trying to recreate the car scene from the beginning of Suspiria, but it was just so much less effective. Sarah ends up heading to the library to find a copy of The Three Mothers, which she finds with ease as she walks directly towards it, almost by instinct. The book, born of a witch's cheese, is on a shelf that is inflamed with red light. So Argento-y. She, for some reason or another, can't find her way up to the library and runs into a super creepy room with a super creepy guy who wants her super creepy book, so he attacks her. She goes home to her building and meets a dude named Carlo. He notices she looks terrified and offers to chill with her for a few hours. Once they get to her apartment, she calls Mark to tell him about the letter that his sister Rose sent him. There seems to be some technical issues with the power, so Carlo goes to check the fuse box, only to get murdered, along with Sarah by the gloved killer. Mark comes to discover their bodies, and calls his sister Rose to ask about the letter. Rose insists he comes to New York, but not without some disturbances in the telephone call, which prompts them both to do that thing where they click down on the disconnect button, even though it doesn't work.
Hello? Rose, hello.
Mark? Mark?
Why they do this in every old movie is beyond me. How the fuck would that work? Rose is then chased very suspensefully by some kind of entity and is murdered quite brutally. When he arrives, he meets a nurse who is looking after a man in a wheelchair who's mute named Professor Arnold. Discovering an empty apartment, he decides to put books on a desk for a while. He hears someone saying, "Hello," in the hallway outside the apartment door, and opens it to discover Elise. Elise is a new character. Elise goes home and discovers blood on her shoe. Mark finds a trail of blood and follows it into an unused service entrance, where he then faints like a little bitch. Elise sees Mark being dragged away by a cloaked figure who begins to pursue her. She is then attacked by a hilarious barrage of kitties. And then murdered. Mark is found by the caretaker of the building and pushed to bed. The caretaker and Elise's butler steal Elise's jewelry and discuss how rich they will be. The caretaker suggests that the butler call her husband to tell her that she disappeared. Seems fairly sure that Elise is not coming back. The butler goes to do so, but is murdered. When Carol discovers his corpse, she accidentally drops a candle and starts a fire.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn. Fire. I'll take you to learn.
She tries to put it out, but gets tangled in the curtains and falls to her death out of the window.
Fire. I'll take you to burn. Fire. I'll take you to learn.
Using clues from the book, Mark finds some secret passages through the building that lead him to Professor Arnold, who reveals himself to be Varelli, the architect who wrote the book The Three Mothers. By using a voice generator, of course, because he's a mute guy. Burley attempts to stab Mark with a needle full of God knows what, but before he actually penetrates him, Mark pulls away. Well, he does get him a little bit, but Mark's, like, he's a younger guy. Burley falls out of his chair and starts choking on his voice generator. Mark quickly saves his life for some reason. Burley dies anyway, I guess. And Mark goes on to discover a cool room and finds the nurse who was looking after Varelli. Turns out she's a witch. As the house burns down from the fire Carol started, the witch, using magic, flies through the mirror and becomes the Grim Reaper, which was pretty badass. But before this, she explains she simply wants to get him.
I'm coming to get you.
Mark runs through the burning building, barely escaping with his life. Alright, so what did I think the second time around? Well, the direction here is really great and definitely on par with Suspiria. It was truly classic Argento and was a real treat for the eyes. I love his way of lighting things with hues of green, red, yellow, and blue. Almost all of his shots were dreamy and nightmarish, just like in Suspiria. Even the situations and sets remind me of a gloomy, uneasy dream. The writing in this one was actually a bit more easy to follow than Suspiria. It had a steady pace, and there was only a few times where I was kind of a bit bored and sort of not sure and confused as to what was going on. The acting was really good and the characters were all interesting. The dialogue, of course, was a bit campy. I thought the women in this film said that they were scared too many times. It would have been kind of weird, I guess, to have such a serious toned movie where they have them say, "I'm so freaked out right now." I think one of my big issues the last time I watched this movie was the music. To be honest, I was totally being too harsh. I think the Goblin track from Suspiria really clouded my judgment. The music in this was actually pretty awesome the whole time, except for that one scene in the cab. It was very operatic compared to Suspiria, but it worked very well. The effects in this were a little more minimal. However, like Suspiria, it ranged from kind of cheesy to really amazing. As for me recommending Inferno, I can say yes indeed. Watch this fucking movie. I'll give this one an 8.8 out of 10. I think I like Suspiria just slightly better. Thanks for watching, but you probably have better things to do with your time, so don't subscribe. Either way, I would most likely like to promote camping. It's awesome.
That Magic Production.